True mastery is not loud thunder, it's the silent storm shaping its own horizon. Ascenders, today we're flipping the script on dominance. Forget the chest thumping, the loud entrances, the crowd chasing. We're stepping into a different frequency. This is not about muscle flexing, this is about the quiet force that bends reality. This episode isn't for the average crowd, it's for those who've always felt slightly detached from the social arena. Those who don't seek the spotlight, but somehow end up being the gravitational center anyway. We're talking Sigma male versus Alpha male, and exactly why the Sigma always wins without even trying. This isn't pop psychology or recycled Reddit chatter. We're going to carve deep, unveil layers, break illusions, and if by the end of this video you're still clinging to the alpha myth, you weren't listening close enough. So tighten your mental armor, Ascenders, and if you're part of this tribe of thinkers, outliers, and tacticians, ignite that subscription now. Let's rise without noise. 1. Nebula strategist. The Alpha makes noise, the Sigma makes moves. That's the fundamental difference. Alphas operate in known frameworks. Their dominance is built on being at the top of visible hierarchies, whether it's at work, in social settings, or even in relationships. They thrive on power that's recognized, labeled, and applauded. But here's the catch. Visible power is always vulnerable. It's constantly being tested, challenged, and monitored. The Sigma? He's not playing that game. He's not rejecting the rules. He's ignoring the board entirely. Think of the Sigma as a nebula strategist, someone who doesn't shout commands but crafts entire blueprints in silence. He studies patterns others don't even notice. While Alphas are busy dominating the current game, Sigmas are building a new one in the background. A Sigma never shows all his cards. He plans moves 5 steps ahead and makes sure the second and third layers of his strategy are invisible. It's not about deception, it's about efficiency. He doesn't seek recognition because recognition isn't the goal. Freedom is. When you understand that the Sigma's power comes not from dominance but from detachment, you start to see the chessboard differently. The Alpha wants to win the room. The Sigma wants to redesign the entire building. So while others are battling for the crown, the Sigma quietly buys the castle. 2. Lone Pendulum. The Alpha draws strength from his pack. His identity is often tied to how others perceive him. In a way, he needs the group to validate his leadership. Strip the group away, and the Alpha's aura begins to dim. But the Sigma, he doesn't orbit anyone. The Sigma is a lone pendulum, balanced not because of outside forces, but in spite of them. He swings between solitude and strategy, between action and observation, with no need for social anchors. He's built for independence, not isolation. There's a difference. Solitude for a Sigma is fuel. It's not loneliness, it's recalibration. While Alphas attend every room, every party, every circle, Sigmas often disappear. Not because they're avoiding interaction, but because they're constructing something internally. This doesn't mean Sigmas reject people. They can connect deeply, form tight bonds, and lead when needed. But their power doesn't fluctuate based on who's around. That's the key. It's in their ability to be self-sustaining that they become untouchable. You can't manipulate someone who doesn't crave your validation. You can't bribe someone who values his time more than your attention. In a society that constantly pushes people to belong, to network, to brand themselves, the Sigma moves like a glitch in the matrix. He's proof that success doesn't always require community. Sometimes it requires clarity, and the pendulum swings on his own rhythm, not yours. 3. Echo of intent. Alpha males often feel the need to assert their presence through action. Loud declarations, aggressive postures, fast decisions. It's an energy that seeks to dominate, control, conquer. It's about showing strength so others fall in line, but the Sigma doesn't broadcast. He calibrates. He doesn't speak to impress. He speaks to shift. Every action a Sigma takes is laced with purpose. There's no wasted motion, no overcompensation, no dramatics, because he isn't trying to convince the world of anything. He simply acts and lets the echo do the talking. This is what makes Sigmas lethal in quiet ways. They can walk into a room and say nothing, but their energy rearranges the dynamic. People notice. They don't know why, but they feel it. That's the Sigma frequency. Low volume, high voltage. It's not charisma, it's clarity. When a Sigma chooses to speak, it's because something needs to be said. When he acts, it's because the moment required it, not because he needed attention. That authenticity carries weight. Others may not always understand the intent, but they feel its gravity. The Alpha often dominates through force. The Sigma influences through design. One requires presence, the other precision. In a world full of noise, it's the rare voice that cuts through silence that truly shifts minds. Sigmas don't overpower, they recalibrate. 4. Void aura. Power is usually loud. It announces itself. It demands space. It takes up air. That's the Alpha's approach, presence by pressure. But the Sigma flips this on its head. The Sigma doesn't fill the room. He shifts the room. He doesn't demand attention. He absorbs it, not by force but by vacancy, by being exactly who he is, with zero need to display it. This is the void aura, an invisible gravity field around the Sigma male. It's not charisma in the traditional sense. It's the curiosity he provokes just by being present, yet removed. People are hardwired to notice what stands out, but we're even more intrigued by what's missing. The Sigma doesn't overshare, doesn't crowd the conversation, doesn't posture. That's silence, that's stillness. It becomes magnetic. Others lean in, wondering what's going on behind the quiet. The Alpha walks in loud and establishes dominance by pushing outward. The Sigma walks in silent and causes people to adjust inward. There's no roar, just an invisible recalibration of social energy. And this power, the ability to remain undefined, becomes his greatest asset. The less he gives, the more others chase the signal. The less he seeks control, the more he subtly earns respect. He creates space, and in that space people see themselves more clearly, because the Sigma becomes a mirror, not a mask. This isn't about mystery for effect, it's about clarity. The Sigma doesn't show what's unnecessary, because he's too focused on what matters, and that focus becomes a light others can't stop watching, even if they don't understand why. 5. Magnetic paradox. The Sigma male is a walking contradiction, independent yet magnetic, distant yet influential, apathetic yet unforgettable. This is the magnetic paradox, the essence of why people are drawn to him without even understanding him. Alphas seek attraction through display. Muscles, confidence, volume. Everything is exterior. Everything is crafted for maximum impact. But Sigmas, they attract through paradox. They aren't trying to be attractive. That's exactly why they are. People are used to being pursued. The Sigma doesn't chase. He doesn't validate. He doesn't flatter. And this triggers something deep in the human psyche, a need for recognition. But Sigmas don't play that game. They're tuned to a different mission, a different outcome. And ironically, that absence of desire to impress becomes the most impressive trait in the room. People follow Sigmas not because they're told to, but because they're pulled into their orbit. The Sigma doesn't change his rhythm for anyone, and that self-containment, that inner calibration, becomes a beacon. This paradox goes deeper. Sigmas are warm in thought, but cool in energy. They're kind, but not accessible, helpful, but not entangled. Their love doesn't beg, their wisdom doesn't lecture, their strength doesn't shout. And in a culture that equates visibility with value, the Sigma proves the opposite. His value increases in absence. His silence echoes louder than words. His detachment becomes a statement, and people, no matter how dominant they feel, can't help but be moved by it. 6. Adaptive flux. Where the alpha charges forward with linear force, the sigma moves like liquid, fluid, adaptive, untouchable. Adaptive flux is the sigma's true weapon. He doesn't break under change, he bends, he doesn't fight the current. He navigates it, often ahead of time. Alphas tend to resist change. They build fortresses, systems of control, routines, networks that depend on stability. But sigmas, they treat change as fuel. In any social or professional setting, the sigma reads the room like a data stream. He adjusts, not to blend in, but to optimize, to align with what works and discard what doesn't. No ego, just evolution. This doesn't make him a people pleaser, quite the opposite. He adapts without conforming. He doesn't become others. He becomes a sharper version of himself in new territory. It's this ability to evolve silently that makes him so resilient. While alphas panic when the world shifts, sigmas are already 3 steps into their next form. It's like water. Put it in a cup, it becomes the cup. Put it in a box, it becomes the box. But don't mistake that for weakness. It's not passivity, it's power without friction. And when it's time to strike, that same fluidity turns into precision. No wasted energy, no misfired intention, just motion that cuts through noise like a blade. Sigmas don't fear chaos, they fold it into their flow. That's why they're always in position, even when the rules change. 7. Zero drama nexus. Every alpha at some point gets entangled in conflict. It's almost built into the alpha identity, defending status, asserting dominance, correcting disrespect. It's a constant loop of reaction. But sigmas, they don't react, they redirect. The zero drama nexus is where the sigma lives, a space of minimal friction, maximum clarity. Conflict isn't entertainment, it's inefficiency. Drama is not a challenge, it's a distraction. So how do sigmas navigate this world full of tension, ego, and power games? They remove themselves, not through weakness, but by being untouchable. They don't get baited into petty arguments. They don't argue for validation. They don't debate to win. Because when you've got nothing to prove, every argument becomes optional. The sigma operates on a different channel. When tension rises, he either dissolves it with composure or exits it entirely. No theatrics, just recalibration. This doesn't mean he avoids confrontation. When it's necessary, he engages. But even then, his tone is controlled. His words are deliberate. He doesn't escalate. He clarifies. He doesn't dominate. He corrects the field. That lack of emotional chaos makes him intimidating, not because he's threatening, but because he's completely unshakable. And in a world fueled by noise, silence becomes terrifying. The sigma male isn't cold, he's clean. His mind is a surgical room, no clutter, no infection, no mess. And that kind of mental hygiene attracts people who are tired of being tossed around by unstable energy. 8. Subsurface depth. The alpha exists on the surface. His power is visible, immediate, recognized. But the sigma, his depth is invisible until you fall into it. This is subsurface depth, the layered multidimensional core of a sigma's mind. He may not speak often, he may not reveal much, but when you engage, you quickly realize this isn't someone you can skim. Sigmas are built of inner worlds. They've spent time exploring their psychology, their past, their patterns, not because it's trendy, but because it's necessary. Their solitude has forced them to confront themselves over and over again. What's left is a person who knows himself, and that knowledge becomes depth. They understand nuance. They see the gray. They operate with long-term vision instead of short-term gain. When they listen, they actually listen. When they speak, it's not a recycled idea, it's a forged insight. This kind of mental and emotional architecture makes shallow interaction feel pointless to a Sigma. He'll disengage if the conversation lacks substance. He's not being rude, he's conserving energy. But when he connects, he goes deep, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. That's why people remember conversations with Sigmas. They felt something, not because of charm, but because of depth. In a world of surface impressions, the Sigma becomes a well, silent, still, and filled with more than you expected. 9. Horizon Architect. The Alpha is obsessed with territory. He wants to conquer what's visible, control what's defined, and rule what's already been established. He plays the game of dominance on a map already drawn. But the Sigma, he's not fighting over land, he's building worlds. The Horizon Architect mindset means the Sigma doesn't get stuck playing in the sandbox. He's busy imagining the next frontier. While the Alpha is drawing lines on the map, the Sigma is inventing an entirely new geography. That's what separates domination from innovation. Sigmas aren't trying to outshine others. They're too busy lighting up new ground. They're not out to prove superiority over existing structures. They want to escape limitation altogether. It's a different form of ambition, one that's detached from applause and obsessed with personal alignment. Where the Alpha sees a crowd and wants to lead it, the Sigma sees a system and wants to reinvent it. Whether it's in business, relationships, art, or lifestyle, the Sigma is always mapping the future instead of fighting over the past. This isn't fantasy, it's long-view thinking. It's understanding that real power comes not from playing better in a broken game, but from building a new one where you set the rules. And those who do that, they don't need followers. They become architects of possibility. 10th temporal sovereign time is everything. Alphas use it to chase, Sigmas use it to build. The temporal sovereign isn't ruled by urgency. He's not sprinting to prove something. He moves with precision because he values his time too much to waste it. Most people are trapped in short-term cycles. They want fast results, instant recognition, quick wins. Alphas often get caught in this loop. They're only as powerful as their last performance. But the Sigma, he sees time as a tool, not a threat. He plays the long game, always. This temporal detachment gives him a massive advantage. He can outlast others in silence. He doesn't need the rush of instant validation. While others exhaust themselves trying to win every minute, the Sigma stacks moves that will pay off next year or next decade. It's not laziness, it's strategic patience. And it's terrifying to people who don't understand it. This man isn't just avoiding distraction, he's organizing his energy in such a way that when he does strike, it's unstoppable. It's not about being slow, it's about moving when it matters most. Time doesn't command the Sigma, he commands time. 11th. Phantom resonance. Ever felt someone's absence more than their presence? That's phantom resonance. That's the Sigma effect. Alphas are most powerful when they're around. Their influence is tied to their presence. But Sigmas? They become even more powerful when they're gone. Why? Because they leave behind impact, not just impressions. When a Sigma exits a space, physically, emotionally, professionally, what's left behind is a vacuum. And in that vacuum, people realize what he brought. The stability, the clarity, the energy. This is influence on a whole different level. Sigmas don't force people to remember them. They're unforgettable because they never overstay, over-explain, or overreach. Their value becomes felt in contrast to the noise left behind by others. Phantom resonance is legacy, not hype. It's the aftershock of deep presence, and only someone who has mastered detachment can wield it. 12th. Boundless Paragon. The Alpha is a perfected template. The Sigma is a self-evolving prototype. Being a boundless paragon means the Sigma doesn't strive to be the best version of a mold. He rejects the mold completely. He doesn't aim to fit expectations, even if those expectations are of power. He doesn't become an alpha. He doesn't become an icon. He becomes himself, iterated at scale. This kind of identity is dangerous to structures. Because it cannot be controlled, it can't be predicted, it's not programmable, it shifts as needed, grows without permission, and adapts without apology. Boundlessness means the Sigma doesn't compare himself. Not because he thinks he's better, but because he knows he's different. He isn't looking for approval, and that gives him a freedom no alpha can buy. In a world addicted to trends, roles, and templates, the Sigma is the wild card. He burns blue, outside the algorithm. He is his own reference point. 13. Mirror catalyst. Some people provoke you, others reflect you. The Sigma, he does both. As a mirror catalyst, the Sigma makes others uncomfortable, not through attack, but through clarity. When you're around him, you're forced to look at yourself. Not because he's judging you, but because he doesn't let you hide. Alphas command, Sigmas expose, indirectly, subtly, quietly. He's not preaching or fixing you. He's just living so aligned that you start to notice all the ways you aren't. And that's rare. Most people either conform or confront. The Sigma reflects, and through that reflection, he becomes a catalyst for change. People evolve around him not because they were told to, but because his existence revealed what they were missing. 14th, silent vanguard. Every movement needs a leader, but not every leader holds the mic. The Sigma is the silent vanguard, the one who changes the world without asking to be followed. Alphas lead from the front, openly. Sigmas lead from the side, in silence. They don't take credit. They don't brand themselves as thought leaders. They just move, and others follow the footprints. This makes them more powerful than loud leaders, because they influence without trying. Their leadership is subtle, decentralized, and deeply embedded in how they live, not how they talk. Movements form around Sigmas because of what they are, not what they say. 15th, resilient equilibrium. Alphas break when the system breaks. Sigmas become the system. The resilient equilibrium of the Sigma is what makes him unshakable. He doesn't operate from highs and lows. He isn't led by emotional surges or public opinion. This balance, emotional, mental, spiritual, makes the Sigma nearly indestructible. He absorbs stress without folding. He adapts without losing himself. He absorbs chaos, processes it, and refines it into wisdom. And he does all of this quietly, internally, efficiently. This kind of resilience isn't loud, it doesn't brag, it simply exists, and in its stillness, it terrifies people used to overreaction. Ascenders. This is the full picture. Not a trend, not a role play, but a mindset rooted in truth. Sigma males aren't superior because they try harder. They simply stop trying to be something they're not. They win without force because they master themselves, not others. And in mastering themselves, they become architects of reality, sovereigns of time, and silent kings of every room they enter. If this hit home, subscribe now. Not for hype, but to keep the signal sharp and the silence moving. Until next ascent, walk like a storm, think like a ghost, rule like no one's watching, stay sovereign, ascenders.